Hey guys, Jessica Monroy. Just wanted to give you a quick overview of one of the sessions that I attended last week at the METC conference. My session that I'm going to be reviewing was about blogging, and I'm just going to go through my slides here real quick. So the overview, it was called Blogging for Bellwork, and it was how I get my students to write every day and enjoy it. And it was by Cassie Nix, who is a tech teacher in Kansas City, Kansas. And she teaches mostly sixth grade students, and she sees them every other day for 30 minutes. So this is kind of her chunk of time that she uses with them. So she does mostly older kids. So of course, some of the stuff I had to tweak for my third graders. But there were three things that I really took away from this session. The first thing was that students can find joy in writing again whenever the writing expectations are relatively low. Obviously, we don't want no expectations, but whenever there's not all this pressure of you have to do this, or you have to write 3 paragraphs, or you have to, have a topic sentence and then a bunch of other, supporting details, and then write another paragraph about that. They can really start to enjoy it again. And they also, they start to enjoy it whenever they have an authentic audience versus you're just writing this in your notebook. I'm the only one that sees it. You might get to share every once in a while, but when students really can share with their peers all the time, or even with the greater world on a blog, they really get really into it and can really enjoy writing again. The second thing that I took away was that you have to set specific expectations and start slowly. And this was really a takeaway that I had. She didn't talk about it very much, but since I've started kind of doing this in my classroom, it's something that I know that I needed with my kids because they're only 8 and 9 years old. So I have specific expectations for them. We kind of did the first couple ones almost as a class so that they really understand what it looks like. And then we just start very slowly. And then number three was make your own posts and comments as a teacher to model for the students and to encourage student-teacher and communication. So really show them what you're looking at in comments, especially for my younger kids that don't really know how to comment back on people. They just want to do a bunch of emojis. Just some stuff that, you can really model how to write a good response, a good blog post, and to also comment on other people's posts. In my classroom, we've already started using blogging. We started this last week. We use Seesaw, which is a program we already used for other things in our classroom, and this is the same program that she modeled at the conference session. So her class also uses Seesaw. Mine class has already used Seesaw for several other things, so we just kind of added this blogging feature to it. The expectations are low and the topics are simple for the first few weeks in my class. So, like, our very first one was, what is your favorite season? So it's something that doesn't require a lot of thought and a lot of deep thought into. It's something that they just really need to focus more on the writing and how to make a blog post and to follow those expectations. And then for now, my students' posts are kept private between the teacher and the author or the student that writes it. After proving to me that they can use blogging correctly, then I will open it up to their classmates. So right now, I make my blog post and students are commenting on my post. And when they show me that they've learned how to comment appropriately and they can make appropriate blog posts and follow our expectations, then I will open it up for the other students. So here's an example of what my kids see for our blogging in our classroom. I do a blog post. Mine takes every 2 days, or mine lasts for every 2 days. The presenter, she gave her class the whole week. So they had the same post all week. They didn't have to finish it on the first day, that way, in case they were a slower writer, they didn't have to have it done and feel pressure to move on to the next one. And then if they happen to finish early, that was the time where they could read other students' posts and comment on them. That would work a little differently with a much obviously bigger group. If she had I think she had like 300 something students, and that was just sixth grade. So if she had them share with all those students, you can obviously be reading a lot of other blog posts, even if they're not in your class. So mine are 2 days, and that's shorter time period, but she only saw her kids every other day. So they probably really saw each other about 3 times a week. So mine is a little shorter, but I also have less less expectations, and I wanted my kid, or lower expectations, and I wanted my kids to be able to not get bored. I felt like with the group I have now, if we stuck on one topic for a while, they would just get really worn out on it. So I made this smart notebook as part of my daily message when they come back in from specials. This is up on the board, and this was our first one. So it lasted last Thursday and Friday. Was your favorite season? And you can see my expectations at the bottom. Right now we're doing opinion writing, so they have to start with their opinion statement. For example, I think something, or to me, blank is my favorite season. They have to give me 2 to 3 reasons to support their thesis. And then they have to also give a detailed sentence for each reason. So they can't just say, I like summer because I get to go swimming. I also like it because I don't have school. I also like it because it's when my birthday is. They have to say, I like summer because I get to go swimming. And then they have to give me a detail. I like swimming with my friends at my aunt's house. Just one more detailed sentence. And then they have to use capital letters and punctuation, and they have to have a 5-sentence minimum. The teacher that presented, she had her students, her 6th graders, had a 10-sentence minimum, and she didn't really break down the expectations as much in between as to like the format of it. But my kiddos struggle with even just writing complete sentences, so I really broke it down into exactly what they needed to have. And then the less expectations of 5 sentences also. I probably would up that if I were doing this, if I had started this earlier in the year, or if I were doing this for a longer period. But I just want to keep it simple and really just get them writing and enjoying it again. This is an example of one of my students' posts for this prompt, and she just posted on her Seesaw. I think summer's the best season. First, there's no school. I can sleep in. So that was her reason. First, there's no school, and her detail, I can sleep in. Obviously, this is very simple. These are 8 and 9-year-olds. A lot of them really just struggle with complete sentences. So we're working baby steps. So yeah, second, I can go to the park and play. I love going down the slide. Third, I can go swimming at the Washington pool. I like to go underwater. Then you can see my comment at the bottom. I said, Lacey, I agree with your reasons. I also like summer because there's no school and I can sleep in. Great first post. There are some students that when they submit them to me, I will comment on like, I think we need to make a few changes, or you didn't use a capital letter, please come see me. And then that's their job the next day, is after they finish their post, they have to read my comment and make sure they don't need to come to me for any changes. This is my first post that I did. So you can see it's a lot more in depth, kind of showing them the example of what I want them working up to. And then you can see my students commenting on the bottom. This is before I had edited the comments. I do have to approve every comment that goes to me from Seesaw. That's an option you can turn off or on. But the ones that use, I tell them you don't need 20 exclamation points. We're not using a bunch of emojis. So this was before I had gone through them, but the ones that have too many emojis or the 20 exclamation points, I delete those and I explain to the kids why, so that they're practicing that good digital etiquette and that the good communication. Some things that I changed from the presentation and made my own was that students will have 2 days to work on a prompt instead of a week, like shown in the session, and I kind of explained why. I will not be grading these this year. I'd like to get used to it and have my kids get used to it. She took completion grades just for finishing it, and then once a month she took a rubric grade where they peer graded themselves, and then she took it for a grade. And then the last thing, I will be aligning the prompts with our quarterly writing topics. So for example, 3rd quarter, we're working on opinion writing. So all the prompts are focused on writing a thesis and having your opinion and giving reasons. Some outcomes I hope to have from this: I hope to see students love writing again and get excited about sharing their writing with their friends. I want to take less pressure off of writing and allow students to just share what's on their mind. Obviously within some guidelines for right now, but eventually I'd like to have more open-ended prompts where they can just, share their feelings. And then I want students to practice respectfully commenting on each other's posts and learn appropriate responses to others' work. So that's something really difficult for my young kids is, they just want to be like, awesome, or, that's cool, or put a bunch of emojis. So really learning the I agree with you because, or I disagree with you because, but, great post. So I really want to teach them those skills. So that is basically all that I took away from the conference. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, the link to her presentation is going to be in the description on YouTube. Thanks, guys.